Welcome to the California Common Sense Data Transparency Portal. We've compiled one of the largest government spending databases in the country, and we've put that information online in visualizations that you can explore in ways that are fast and intuitive. Now let's go into how the portal actually works. If you scroll down, you'll see the 6 visualizations that CACS has built. And if you click on a particular one, you'll see this. On the left, we have 2 graphs showing us the information, and on the right, we have a series of controls that we can use to filter, select, modify, break down, adjust the information depending on what we want to see. So right now we have a line graph on the left showing us revenue and expenditures for the state of California for the past 30 years. And on the right we have a graph showing us the number of employees that have worked for the state. Right now all of these metrics are set per capita, but we can adjust that so that we're seeing just the totals. We can control for inflation or not. And most interesting, we can break all of this down by agency. So now each of these colored lines represents a different agency in the California government. Let's say we want to focus on just one of these agencies. We can go here, select the agency we want to see, and now, for example, we're just seeing spending and the number of employees for the corrections agency. And we see that there's a pretty dramatic increase over the past 30 years. We've gone from around $2 billion in spending to around $9 billion, and from around 12,000 employees to over 60,000. But let's control for population growth, and we see that the trend persists. There's still a pretty dramatic increase. Now that's interesting, but let's put this in context by comparing corrections to the other agencies in the state of California. So if we scroll down here and select the California Public Employee Pay visualization, we can compare how much employees are making on average for all of the different agencies in California. So if we scroll down, the first thing that jumps out at us is that employees in the judicial agency seem to be making substantially more on average than employees in all of the other agencies. Now let's go back to focusing on corrections. If we highlight corrections and click that, the distribution on the right updates so that we're seeing the full distribution of employee pay in the corrections agency. And the first thing that jumps out at us here is that there are 1,437 employees in the corrections agency making $150,000 or more. Now let's say we want to compare the corrections agency to another agency in the California government. We can hold down Shift and select, say, General Government, and the distributions on the right update so that they're stacked against one another and we can compare them visually. Now let's say we want to go broader and compare not just within the agencies in California, but across all 50 states. We have a visualization for that as well. If you scroll down and select the Employee Pay Nationwide visualization, we see a map with the size of each dot proportional to the number of employees working for that state, and the color of the dot representing how much those employees are making on average. So the darker the dot, the more the employees in that state are making. And we should note that all of these figures have been pre-adjusted for cost of living. If we focus on California, we see that our dot is pretty dark, with California public state employees making, on average, about $63,000 a year. Now, if we want to continue focusing on corrections, we can choose a particular position, select correctional officers, and the map on the top updates. So now we're just looking at the total number of correctional officers and the average pay for correctional officers for each of these states. And we see that California's dot has become even darker, with our correctional officers making almost $30,000 more on average than for all of the states in our database. Now, if we want to filter not just by position type, but also by agency, we can go here, select Agency Averages, and then use these dots to choose a particular agency. So let's say we want to focus just on Health and Human Services. We click that, and the map on the top updates again, so now we're just looking at the number of employees and the average pay for employees in the Health and Human Services agencies for each of these states. If we want to go down to a further level of detail, we can actually choose a particular position within the Health and Human Services agencies. So let's say we just want to look at doctors. Again, the map updates, and now we're just looking at the number of doctors and the average pay for doctors working for each of these states. And we see that California, again, has a relatively dark dot with the average doctor working for the Health and Human Services Agency in California making about $130,000 a year. So, that's how you use the Employee Pay Nationwide visualization, and those are some of the interesting facts you can find. But these are just 3 of the 6 visualizations we've built. Now that you have an idea of how to use them, I'll leave you to explore the rest of the data visualization portal yourself.